Hey guys, I'm sitting in my boat because I want to get relaxed for this one. Okay. I want to talk to y'all. We're going to have a civilized conversation, a very thought provoking, civilized conversation. We just had an election, right? Had an election a couple weeks ago. I would say that this election and leading up to it, some of the things that happened in this election were interesting in the fact of there was actually some dialogue. Some people actually made sense. It wasn't this like they didn't let the emotions get all crazy. It was like, hey, here's some common sense things. Let's think about it and let's decide how we want to go moving forward. Okay. I want this to be a discussion as well, like this. It's going to be about LivesCope. This isn't a discussion on whether or not you think it's right or wrong or any of that stuff. There's been millions of discussions about that. It's great if you have a thought one way or the other, and that's fine. Okay. I'm just shedding light on something that I think people need to maybe haven't thought of, or what's really going on, or how it might affect the industry. Because I definitely think it's going to affect the industry. I think it's going to affect fishing. I think it's going to affect a lot of things, good or bad. I don't know. I have thoughts, but just because we'll get into that. But I wanted to discuss to you because there's also some other things that are going on within how tournament trails are going a certain way, whether that's good or not. And I'm going to explain why it's going that way. Okay. So here it is. Here's the point I'm going to make about how LivesCope is changing the way fishing is for some people and the tournaments. I'm going to take Wheeler. The Toyota Championship on Wheeler was a great example. We're going to start off by saying, let's be honest. There's, for the most part, an old school fisherman and a new school fisherman. Now, I'm an old school fisherman, but I know how to LivesCope. Okay. There's new school fishermen that grew up more with LivesCope, but still know how to regular fish too. So there's definitely groups that this isn't even an argument, guys. That we don't have to like tippy toe around this. There's some guys that only LivesCope. That's all they do. It's not a big deal. But that's all they do. That's all they have to do. That's all they have to do. There's also some guys that only old school fish. And I'm not saying that's all they have to do, but that's worked for them in the past. There's some of us that do both, and we have done really well in the past without it. We are learning it now because we see how much of a dominance thing it is at times. And so some of us, or like me, is like, man, I'm not going to sit there and cry about it. And when I mean cry about it, I've never cried about anything. Man, I just get out there. Like, the only thing I get mad about is freaking like cheaters and rule breaking and stuff like that. But for the most part, like, I'll complain about things, but I'm going to still get out there and freaking do my thing. I'm going to get out there and fish. Okay. I don't like getting cheated out of money, and I don't like getting, that part. But like, if it's within the rules, man, it's what I signed up for. So I will go and do that, right? I will go fish tournament. There's always been this thing where there's an age where fishermen start to age out of fishing. They can still do good here and there, but there's definite timeline, like anything, where you can be dominant. Now, I was in that range for a little bit. At one point in time, I was fishing a whole bunch, winning a lot of angler of the years, winning a bunch of money and things. And I'm a way better fisherman now than then. So it wasn't necessarily about skill as much as I was ahead of things. I was ahead of the curve, which means is while people were doing one thing, I was doing another, right? I was being progressive in how I fished, and I think I was young. I was open to new ideas. I was open to new things. And I was like, man, And I was like, man, I can't beat these older guys doing what they do because they have too much experience on me. So I'm going to do something different and figure that out. And that's what I did. I continually try to do that now, although it's hard. It's very hard. And here's why. My dad used to watch golf. He was a really good athlete, played ball in college and everything else like the basketball and stuff, but could play golf. And he used to watch it. I'd sit there and go, I was a young kid. I'm like, this is boring. You know, why do you want to watch it? He's like, man, I just like to see who crumble under the pressure. I was like, really? That's why you watch it? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, whatever. I understood that as I got older, right? I still don't watch golf, but I understood why he did it. Now, I asked him, I was like, man, it's crazy. You know, like some of these older guys that don't putt that well, you would think the more you did it, the better you'd be at it, right? Because when you're younger, you're like, the more I practice something, the better I should be at it. Well, he's like, yeah, but he's like, he told me, he's like, hey, Todd, think about this. All the things that you've done in your life, whether it be sports or fishing, you don't really think about all the good things you've ever done. Like, right? So he was like, think about it this way. If you're putting and you've made 100 5-footers, when you get up there to putt, you don't think about those 100 5-footers. You think about the, you know, couple times you've missed those 5-footers, right? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. He's like, so a young guy doesn't have that many misses. Like he doesn't have a tournament where he lost on a 5-footer or something that cost him, right? They make more of those. But as you get older, you're always going to have, like in fishing, you might have more second places or a fish you lost that cost you this. You don't think about the fish you caught to win the tournament that should have happened. And he was like, as you get older, that's what starts to come into your head is the ones you missed, not all the ones you made. And I was like, man, he's right. I mean, I've thought about that in fishing. Like I don't think about the 50 fish I landed in a row. I think about the one I didn't land. And so it was just a way of thinking, right? When I started thinking about this fishing in Livescope, and when we went to Wheeler, I had preconceived notions of Wheeler, of what I wanted to go do. And in that is all the years of fishing I've ever had. Okay. So I knew about Decatur Flats and I kind of knew how the river set up and all these different things. So when I go there, I'm thinking current, I'm thinking, you know, where's the grass? What baits do I need to throw? Can I catch them on my hybrid hunter, swim jig, top water? Try the industrial side. Do I need to go shallow, deep? Do I want to play the grass game? Do I want to play the current game? Do I want to play the ledge game? Do I want to go back into creeks? Do I want to go up the river or however up the river is to the tail race? Do I want to fish the current up there? Do I want to crank? See all these things that I have all my rods out on the deck. I have all these things that, how do I want to attack Wheeler? That's my mindset. I think it's a great mindset. I think that's how all of us fished for years. How do you want to attack a lake? What do you want to go after? And you bring in all the things, time of year, what's going on, weather, all these different things. Like all that goes into your preparation before you ever even hit the lake. Now, I don't do much research as far as like the lake goes, like information. So I don't really care in the sense of, I just need an area. When I say an area, like I already knew about Decatur Flats, so I was like, all right, I don't care how big it is. I'm just going to go to it and figure it out. And that's what my plan was. And then I will branch out from there, from patterns and different things. And regardless of how good or bad I did in the tournament, that's what I did. On the flip side, and this is the part that I don't know if some people are mad about LivesCope. Some people don't like it. Some people, all these different things. There's certain reasons they don't like it, but I don't know. Sometimes they can't really put it all together as to why. But this is something that's interesting. It's just interesting. Or it's all I'm going to say. I'm just telling you facts. Okay? If I'm a LivesCoper, I don't want to talk for everyone else. Although I think other ones, like LivesCopers, are doing this. Like this is what they did. All that stuff I did of how I wanted to prepare for Wheeler and think about Wheeler and all the and how we approached it in the past. And even now, I don't think they think that way. I wouldn't. If you told me, Todd, you have to go to Wheeler and just LivesCope, you can't do anything else, I'd have been like, okay, no big deal. I can go do that. Now I can, and I could have done that in the tournament. So there's going to be people in these comments going, you could have done this. Yes, I know I could have. Once again, I can't get out of my own head of what I've done for 30 years in the past, right? That's hard for some of us to do. It's hard. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't fault anyone for this. I'm just stating what's going on. If you said, Todd, you can't do anything else but LivesCope, I said, cool. I'd have gone down there about the mouth of the Elk River, fished from there to the dam. It's the clearest water on the lake. It's got the deep water. They're probably not going to be that shallow. Even if they are a little shallow, they're not going to be in the grass. They're not going to be like there. It's a big kind of wide open area that largemouth and smallmouth and a good population live there. Like maybe the winning population. Obviously, to win the tournament, that's a great place to start. And I got 4 days of practice, and I'm not worried about grass. I'm not worried about cranking. I'm not worried about current. I'm not worried about going up the river. I'm not worried about all these different things. I don't have a ton of stuff on my boat, right? Because when you LivesCope, you don't really have that many rods and reels and baits, right? I mean, if I go fish the grass, I could have like 10 rods that I can catch fish out of off all 10 of those rods. And that's just grass fishing, right? And that's not even like doing some other things. I mean, I have 2 or 3 topwaters on, swim jigs, and thunder crickets. I could have worms, all these different things. I have to do all this. That's not the case with LivesCope. I mean, a lot of times like 5 rods is like max. I would say the best LivesCopers have less than 3. Okay. So I go down there and I would go put my head down. I wouldn't care where I'm at in the lake to the degree. I don't have to drive all up and down that lake. I don't have to worry about the different sections of the lake. I've got one section, put my head down. I'm not even going to go idle, to be honest with y'all. I'm being dead honest. I wouldn't. I just put the trolling motor down. Wherever the boat ramp is, I just put the trolling motor down. And I still kind of fish that way shallow, but I would just do that. And within probably a couple hours, probably way less than that, you're going to figure out real quick what depth they're in, if they're suspended, what you're doing, like little things like this. If you're fairly proficient with LivesCope, once again, I'm going to say this again. You know how many guys are going to get in this and go, well, you could have done this. Yes, I know I could have. I understand I could have, right? I've also done really good in some of these Toyota championships, not fishing that way, right? I still can catch them the other way. So I have a dilemma when I go out there of what I really want to go do, right? If you don't have that dilemma, which a lot of them don't, there's no dilemma. It's just what they're going to go do. And to be honest with you, it's the better technique. A lot of times, it's the best technique. And it's getting better that way. In the sense of, when I say it's getting better that way, it's getting more dominant. So, if that's the case, and that's what's going on, we've had these discussions privately of like, do I just stop fishing the other way? I mean, there's going to be guys in there like, yeah, you probably should. You probably should stop fishing any of the other way and just go LivesCope for 4 days and do the same thing. Doesn't mean I'll catch them. I mean, I might have zero doing that. No, I went and did it a little bit on day 2 and caught some big ones and stuff. And I was ready to go do that in the tournament till I figured out how to catch some, up by the tail race, which was LivesCoping, but a little bit, it was kind of like a little bit, not really. It was like 50-50. I didn't really need it to catch some up there. I needed to do better up there, but I didn't need it the whole time. And then the other way, like how I caught them on day 2, I didn't LivesCope any of them. I just went fishing and did that. Not like I did great. I'm just saying I didn't need it at all on day 2 when I went and did that thing. So that's what we talk about a little bit of like, when are we going to look up and go, hey, all the things that and I'm bringing in myself, all the things that I've won tournaments on, top 10s, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars won, all these techniques, and just say, no, I'm just going to do this in tournaments because it's probably the way to win. I mean, it sounds kind of like a stupid question, to be honest with you. Like I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you if that's the way to win? It's just hard because kind of in the back of your head, you're thinking it's not ego, but there's a pride back there going, no, I can still win a tournament fishing the grass with a topwater, or I can still do this, or I can not wheeler, but I can go flip boat docks and still win a tournament. Or I still can go deep crank, and not do all that. I think there's a lot of guys struggling with that. A lot of the older guys. And I think that's why, me personally, I do kind of like enjoy the fact of, I would like to see some of those guys that don't have that struggle. Like the guys that just have to show up and they're not like, I'm not really worried about any of that stuff. I'm just going to go to the best live scoping area on the lake, and that's what I'm going to go do all in practice, no matter what. And if I catch them, great. If not, like, I would love to be like, no, you can't go do that. Now what are you going to do? I think people are choosing certain spots to land right now in fishing, like tournaments wise, because that's happening. Now they're not saying that. No one will admit that. That's for a whole nother video I've been dying to do, and I'm gonna wait till freaking January or something when like it starts to pop off. But I'm just telling you, there are people that qualified for certain tournament divisions and turned down that qualification. It's not, they can say it's for money and all this stuff. I'm like, you just spent 50 grand to qualify for that, and now you're saying that to win twice as much money for the same amount, now it's money? No. It's maybe they changed the rules on you about how you can use LivesCope. And everyone's like, oh, it doesn't matter. But it did to them. And I think people are leaving certain organizations and going to other ones because you can use it or you can't use it or whatever. So that's why I think some of us I got tired of getting attacked when I was like, hey, some guys can LivesCope, some guys can't, some guys without it would not do any good. I've said that forever. I don't really care. But you'll get attacked if you say that, which is crazy because it's so true. It's blatantly obvious. I don't understand why you can look and watch on video a guy catch 95% of his fish LivesCoping and then still have the nerve to sit there and go, yeah, but that guy could still win a tournament without it, or like do really good without it. I'm like, how would you know? And I'm not talking about the guys that have made a career for 20 years without it and now catch it with it. I'm just saying. So I think that's part of not a dilemma, but I think it's for a lot of older generation that had a lot of success. You have to have a lot of success though. If you don't have much success fishing that way, it's really easy to go to LivesCope. That's the easy part. Because those guys, like, hey, this is another way I can do good. There's nothing holding them back. So for me, it was like, man, I kind of started getting mad about getting beat by guys. So I started learning it. I had to. This is my profession. I'm not going to just sit there and not learn it. I'm not going to be like some of these other guys at the very highest ranks that just threw a hissy fit over it and just was like, man, I'm not doing this, and just complain about stuff. Like, no, I'm not complaining. Like I said, I got the MBT on there, man. I got a big screen. Like I was like, man, I'm still not going to dive like all in to where I won't do it. I mean, maybe I should. I don't know. I can't. The problem is this. Y'all have seen my videos on my swim jigs and frogging and topwater and everything. It's so much fun doing the other. I love LivesCoping too. But I mean, if I don't get to go, like when the deep crank and bite turns on and it's been like 4 or 5 months where I can't catch any on a deep crankbait, that's all I want to do is go throw a deep crankbait. Like, it's fun, right? And right now, like, the swim jig bites on. I want to go over there and catch 50 a day on a swim jig. It's freaking awesome. I probably won't be able to do it come certain times of the year. I haven't got to frog fish that much. I might go tomorrow, but I know here in the next week or two, frog fishing will be done for like 3 or 4 months. So like, I want to get one last hooray of frog fishing in. And there's just certain things I like. I like fishing. I like doing all that different stuff. Do I like catching fish on LivesCope? Yeah, sometimes it's really, really fun. Like, it's a blast. Doing it every single day with like a little minnow, it has to be, like I said, all fishing is fun when you're smashing on them. But there's still a part of me there's a kid inside of me that loves to fish. And so I like to catch them a lot of different ways. And sometimes when I get to do a different way of catching them with a different bite, it's fun. I don't fault me for that. Like, forget y'all. Like, I love that kind of fishing, right? I like doing different things like that. I'm not saying none of it do I want to do every day. I don't want to sit there and frog every day. I kind of said I would, but I mean, that would eventually get old, because it wouldn't get old, but I'm like, man, I kind of want to go catch them this way. So I don't know. That's what I kind of wanted to bring up about what I see. And it's good or bad. It's not good or bad. It's just what I see. It's just an observation I'm seeing. So thought I'd share that with y'all. Tell me y'all's thoughts. All right. See y'all.